So one of the reasons I decided to do the book was because outside of playing baseball when I was a kid on teams, pretty much everything that I did surrounding my life was about baseball. So from the time I started collecting baseball cards in 1979, on the back of the cards, they used to have a game and it would say like single, double, triple, and you would collect a bunch of cards and shuffle them and you would play games just by flipping over what's happening. It took just a couple minutes to play. And as I got older, we actually started creating baseball games, my friends and I. So, with two people in our backyard, we would set up these various spots in the yard. And if you hit the ball in those places, they would be single, double, triple, home run, out. And we would play with a tennis ball and a croquet mallet. So we didn't even use bats, like we just used these little things so that you couldn't hit the ball too far. And when we got bored, just hitting the ball and standing around, we would actually run the bases. And since there was only two of us, if you hit somebody with the ball, they were out. So part of the joy was hitting one of your friends with a tennis ball as hard as you possibly could, if they happened to get a hit off you. We also, I talked about in one of the earlier videos that my dad and I used to do simulated baseball games. So we'd go out in the back and I'd pitch and he would catch and we would call games. As I got older and started playing games like Strat-o-matic, which are, it's a strategy game and it's based on statistical analysis of every player. And you can either play the basic game or you can play the advanced game. And you can imagine that you played the basic game with new people, and then the more you played, you started playing the advanced game where everything mattered, including the ballpark and how many pitches somebody thrown. And then I got a computer in 1984, and we were no longer, my friends Greg and Jimmy, they kept playing the card game Strat-o-matic, and they played season after season after season. And then I had MicroLeague Baseball, which was a simulated statistical-based computer game as well. And it had teams from the 27 Yankees all the way up to the modern day teams. And we had floppy disks. And so each floppy disk had different leagues. And we drafted this sort of 100-year all-star teams that we played against each other. And then we took our high school baseball stats and we injected ourselves in there as well. So like Jimmy was a power hitter. I was fast as shit and walked a lot. And Greg could throw people out from anywhere in the outfield. And so we played an 81 game season, although Jimmy will tell you we played a 78 game season, and then I went to college. We never finished the end, and Jimmy was one game up with 3 games left and declared himself the winner. I have still to this day said the season is not yet completed, so we don't know that for a fact. We also created Garage Ball, which was wiffle ball and a wiffle ball bat. And you had 3 lawn chairs in a garage, and you played lefty versus lefty, and you threw the ball as hard as you could, and you were about 20 feet away, and a certain point on the garage was a home run, and then everything else were singles, doubles, triples, parts of the garage. And we played one night, we played 9 games. We played 81 innings, throwing the ball left-handed as hard as we possibly could. And a baseball game the next day, I actually couldn't play because I couldn't lift my left arm. So sorry, Dave. That was why I had to sit out one of the games in high school. But we also had a game, and we played that in Greg's house, in his garage. And then we had basement ball in my house. So my parents finished the basement, and we had a ping pong table that we pushed up against the back wall. It says like the Green Monster. And then you put ping pong paddles down for a second home, and you used a ping pong battle. And we used one of the plastic balls that you see in like those like McDonald's play areas where the kids jump around and throw balls. So you got those. And again, lefty versus lefty. Although we would sometimes bat right-handed as well, and pitch right-handed in that. And you could do things like if you took that ball and if you threw it like and snapped your hand down, you could drop that thing about 1.5 feet. and you could like throw, like sort of knuckle the ball and really sort of slide it out of either side of your hands and make that thing dip and dive, and you're swinging with a ping pong battle in this little tiny area. And if you hit the ball, that was no, like you ran. And so again, like you could throw the ball and hit people, or step on the pitcher's mound, which is always out. Anytime you play baseball, in a backyard game, pitcher's mound, anybody who's not on base is out. And so we would play for hours and hours and hours these games: Strat-o-matic, MicroLeague, backyard baseball, garage ball, basement ball. And when I've talked to people about why I'm writing the book, it's because those games were the center point of my childhood. Everything that we did was centered around this game of baseball, and we modified and created it however we needed to fit the time and environment that we were in. And I think you'd be hard pressed if you went back and talked to, I went to a small high school, so most of us still know each other, and talk. The foundation of the friendship that Greg and Jimmy and I had back then was all around this sport. And for the sort of intervening years after, that was the bond that we always had. Like, we knew that baseball was important, and we argue to this day over who was better at garage ball and who was good at basement ball. And Jimmy still declares himself the winner of MicroLeague Baseball. And that just was so powerful because it was never about baseball. And yet it was all about baseball. And it was about our friendship, and it was about the bonds of competition, and it was about giving ourselves these sort of shared experiences together. And what I hope comes out of Catch are hearing the stories that other people like you have with that. And if you're interested, you can drop me a line through the Facebook page. It's Catch the Book. And we'll begin to build these stories of why baseball has helped create these kinds of relationships in our lives, and why it's become so important for us. So thanks for listening, and I will talk to you all soon.